these people's opinions of you are not going to matter 2 years from now.
Yeah.
So why do you care about them so much today? And I think that's why my idea of success has changed so much, especially within probably the last year, of like, why am I doing this? What do I want my life to look like? It's become a lot simpler, where I think even 2 years ago I'd been like, well, I want the nice house. I want people to know I'm successful. Like, I just want to radiate success. Welcome back to another week of the podcast. I'm repping the fall gear today. You know, it's September.
September
It was
1st,
slightly
right?
chilly second
Oh,
today.
oops.
It is the second. Yesterday was the first. And this morning we were going to go on a hike.
Yeah, we drove.
We drove to go on a hike, and every trail we went to was a flop. So we ended up just coming back and walking our usual pretty much route. So, but it was slightly chilly. So I pulled out some fall gear today, and I was like, you know what, we're just believing that fall is here. And we've got football on, watching the Colorado Buffs play TCU. I personally think they're going to get the dub. I'm just
They are
believing.
currently winning at halftime. Currently.
Yeah, so
But
by Monday when this is out, we're going to know. So we're just going to call it now and say they definitely win.
I hope they do win. It'll be pretty exciting.
Yeah, poor TCU. Going from the Natty to losing to Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffs. Anywho, Trent, what are you most looking forward to this fall?
Let's see. We're stepping in year 3 of my main dynasty team. The Giants just paid their quarterback. It's going to be a big year. I really look forward to football season. That's what we're looking forward to. Now, another thing, we started intermittent fasting this week.
Mm-hmm.
And
we did.
We're doing do you say the off time first? We're doing 16-8.
I don't know how you say it.
Okay,
but,
16 off, 8 on. We're starting at noon. And today was an early morning get up. Today may have been the hardest day.
Oh, I get up early every day.
Oh,
but it was
yeah.
funny because you were doing it you started 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
So what prompted you to start intermittent fasting?
I want to lose some weight, and calorie restriction is the best way to do that. Now, you have different kind of like...
Reasons?
Yeah. Well, like,
Yeah.
for me, it's just purely like eating less calories, and I'm really bad with like portion sizes. So like, if like, but I can do like.
Although I will say, last night we went out to eat and got pizza, and neither of us finished our pizza.
I know.
And it wasn't even like we both got, for our standards, they weren't big pizzas.
They were personal pizzas, so
yeah.
like you can definitely
both
finish
of us
them.
Only ate half, pretty much. I was astounded. But yes, continue.
I mean, we also we had the salad with
Yeah.
Brussels sprouts. She sees Brussels sprouts on the menu, and she's just like, "We could get the Brussels sprouts every single time."
They're so good.
And we have them here at our house all the time too. And I don't know. It's sometimes 50-50 if they're better or not.
You're just hating.
Yeah.
Anywho.
But like, I can do okay, I'm just not going to eat from this time. But like, if it's like, we have pasta, it's like you can only have one serving. Then I'm just like, well, I'm hungry. I want like more. So like, I can't really do the whole like, oh, just eat less kind of thing.
Yeah.
But some of the reasons people love intermittent fasting, I don't know if I like see the whole vision. I see you can only eat between this time. And like, that's good enough for me. So kind of talk about like why you want to do it.
Okay, so I've always struggled with skin issues. Like my skin's just super sensitive. I've been on Accutane, like you name it, I've done it probably when it comes to like trying to get my skin to be nice to me. And would say I've transitioned to a pretty low dairy, low sugar diet because of that. And the other day I was listening to a podcast with Jason Derulo, and he was talking about how he had skin problems. I think he may have said he was on Accutane. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But he also mentioned how intermittent fasting really changed his skin. And from prior information I knew about intermittent fasting was how good it was for your gut health and how much your gut affects your skin. So it made sense to me. And since you were already doing it, I was like, you know what? It's a great opportunity to try it out. Like, do it for a month, 6 weeks or so, and see what the impact is on my skin and overall vibe. I will say I think this is day 3 of doing it. It is difficult to find motivation to do anything in the morning when your whole thoughts are behind food. But I love how much self-discipline it's requiring, because sometimes I feel like we can get so comfortable with like giving in to what we feel like we need, even though it's not a need, it's just something we want to curb hunger, we want to curb sadness, whatever it is, we'll find like a quick kind of escape. And so using this as a way to like refocus self-discipline, I think it's also kind of fun.
That's definitely the hardest part. I know I've always heard it gets easier. And I think I tell you like every day, like
Today's the hardest day.
Yesterday was hard or today was hard. So I'm hoping that gets a little better. Now I know the worst part for me, and I would be fine in the morning. I usually don't eat a ton in the morning anyway, but going from like coffee with milk to just black coffee has been awful. And I know you normally have a latte in the morning.
I just haven't been drinking. Like this morning, I had a few sips of water and then just literally did not consume anything until noon. Which I should like change it up and do something that's like healthy-ish or has caffeine in it. Maybe
Like
that would help
tea
me.
or
Yeah, but I just really look forward to like a latte being my first thing of the day. So we're just moving that back till noon, and then maybe, well, if I do 75 hard, I'll have to, drink water. So maybe that'll be my motivation.
All right.
Anywho, so our conversation for today is around the idea of success and how we define success, what we look for, like what the vision of success is. But one question I was thinking about this morning around this topic was, do you think success and our vision of success is that we come up with this idea to impress the people around us? Not so much like, obviously there's some parts that are like for us, but what's like the percentage of we want this for what someone else will perceive of us if we do X, Y, or Z, and more, not just like selfish, if that makes sense.
So you're saying like almost all kind of satisfaction or like comes from like external forces that...
Well, I'm just wondering what % of our desire to have like external success comes from our desire to be perceived well by others and not so much to feel good about ourselves.
I think like a good percentage, 75, 80%. And it's just like, it's almost like created as like a society of like, you're pressuring people into like, you need to do this or you need to do that.
We
like,
all need to have this like level of success.
Yeah. And I think like people just being like pre-social, but like thinking about like different like groups or even just like a sales team environment of like, okay, like here are your numbers, here's this person's numbers, like, you know, whoever sells more gets a bonus kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's
And
like,
all of these forces are just like I don't know, business person, sales guys, just like I sold $100,000 today. Like I feel great, you know.
yeah.
Wait, and that's off his situation that's like very heavily like internalized. But I think stuff like your marathon and probably more runners in general, like most people aren't like, I really want you to run
A marathon.
a 10K or
Yeah.
and then like I know I've signed up and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll run this with you or whatever, and then it's just like, shoot.
Yeah.
But to me that's like an internal thing that you wanted to do. I know no one was like, Shannon, like run your marathon kind of thing.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting because let's use the marathon as an example. I think initially I wanted to do a marathon to prove to others that I could do it, not so that I would feel good to myself or whatever, but more for that external approval, I think. Instead of, and I've told you this, like the first time I said I can't do this marathon because we were in the midst of moving, and I was like, I don't want people to think that I can't do it. And you're like, no one cares. And it's just so interesting, like, what would you say your ideas of success are? Like, when you envision yourself successful, what does that look like? And of those ideas, which ones of them do you think are based off you wanting to impress someone around you?
I think most of them would be based off of other people and just like in terms of just like going to work or what job you have or like even like the career fields that I decided to pursue is just probably trying to gain the respect of others.
Yeah.
And to me, what I would look at is like, oh, this guy's like really successful. It's not like, you know, how much money someone makes, but, you know, like, are they respectable? Because someone can make hundreds, thousands of dollars and just be like a scummy person and like no one wants to like deal with them.
Yeah.
But then I think internally it would be like, do I feel like comfortable? Like, am I financially, like, is everyone around me provided for? And I think men especially have that like sense of like, I need to provide for my family or my people.
Yeah.
So making sure that you are taken care of or that the environment's safe and different stuff like that.
Yeah. Hi, Holly. Yeah. And on our walk the other day, I was talking to you about this. And I think in the past couple months, especially with applying to law school and all these other things, figuring out what's actually important, you know, and what does success look like to me? What do I want to achieve? And the why behind it. Because as you're writing a personal statement for law school, you have to think about the why. And I think that success to me for so long was dictated about what I wanted other people to think of me, that I was so scared of failing because that would prove them right, even if they didn't care. But in my mind, it would prove them right, so why try? And I told you a few days ago how I feel like I'm slowly transitioning to a point where success to me is starting to become an internal feeling and not so much an external achievement, to where, do I feel happy? Okay, then keep doing that, because that's a sign that I'm where I'm supposed to be. Do I feel at peace? Okay, cool. And if 20 years from now I have a life that I love and I'm at peace with, I think that's more successful than having a life where, from an external achievement, like, okay, yeah, I could have $2 million in the bank, but like, as you said, I'm miserable. I don't want to get out of bed in the morning, and I cannot stand my job. Like,
That does
but
not sound like a very successful life.
it doesn't. And like, I always like the question where it's like, when you're, we'll say 85 years old and just sitting on your back porch and you're describing your life to someone, what do you want to be able to say? And we've had a talk since early dating of like, yes, money's important, but it's also not everything. Like, no one, when you are in your grave, is going to put their bank account information like on the, be like, this was my gross income over my lifetime. Like,
or even
be
just
proud of me.
There's the saying, like, the only person that's gonna like remember how many hours you worked,
Yeah.
like a year from now, is
Like your children.
your family.
Yeah. Look at life as so linear that if we do X, we're going to get Y. And our view of success, I think, can be based off of that if we achieve this, then all these people are going to be just so impressed with us, or whatever we think that this outcome is going to be. And I think if our success is based off the approval of others, or whatever, like, external factors, I just don't know if that can be your motivation for a sustainable amount of time. Where if your idea of success is more based off of you, how you're doing and how it affects you, like, and that's why I think having the desire to have a financial situation where you're not like scared if you're gonna be able to pay rent this month, that idea of success is not inherently bad. Like, but if you want to be rich just so other people will be like in awe of you, I think is when it can turn negative.
Like the keeping up with the Joneses, like having everything
Yeah.
you need.
Because then it's not ever for you. It's always for someone else. And I think you're more likely to be miserable doing it. And is that really success? I don't think so. Like, cool, I have so much, but it sucks.
But like, my view is very externally motivated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've shifted at all. And then like, even just like with exercise for me, going and doing like a group activity, I can, like, it's way easier. You know, if you get like the cycle places, you have like all the numbers up there. Like, don't even think about it. Like, you know, you're cycling for an hour.
Yeah.
But as long as my name's up towards the top, or we got the highest wattage, then like I'm in the zone. Or riding a Peloton and you see the live leaderboard and you're racing with someone at like the same length. It's much more motivating.
So how do you think one can go about changing their perspective of success to be so externally motivated to being intrinsically motivated?
We'll see. I was hoping you'd have the magic answers there. But one thing I see you do is you will set goals for yourself, even for like individual workouts or times, and you're not focused on like what other people do. So like even like when we're golfing, like one of the first things I did was Google like average distance for clubs or whatever. So like, for me, it's like, okay, I need to hit my 7-iron 150 to be above average. Yeah, I need to hit my 6-iron 160 in that, and which, you know, in the big scheme of golf, like there's 70, 80-year-old people that hit the ball 100 yards and they're better than 90% of people.
Yeah.
So, but that's not something you've done. What you've done is just like, oh, am I hitting the ball well today, or did I get better today? And I think that's a much healthier mindset than just like, oh, I have to just do this. Because a lot of the times I don't want to do stuff if I know I'm not going to be good at it. So I won't even start. Like playing an instrument or, doing some kind of like activity.
And I think I've shifted a lot because pretty much high school and college, I lived a life that was purely based off of how I wanted others to view me. I just wanted someone's approval. That's how I got into sports. That's why I, to an extent, stopped caring about myself, because I became a shell of myself in order to get people's approval, because the only way I knew how to get people's approval is if I could prove I was good at whatever I thought people wanted me to be good at. School, okay, I'll be good. Sports, sure, I'll excel at that. People will go, oh, you're doing really good. But I wasn't participating in any of the things that I cared about.
You definitely like, you weren't doing any like artistic stuff when we met.
And I've told you, like, there are a few things that I've wanted to do for so long, and I would stop every time I started because I was so worried that it would give the wrong impression, that people wouldn't understand why I was doing it. And so I didn't want to do it because of that risk.
Yeah.
And I like to say that I don't have a lot of regrets in life, and I don't, but I don't want to end that now when I know I've grown a lot in the past couple years and learned a lot about myself. That although like, yes, I wish I could go back and tell little Shannon, like, yo dude, like, you care way too much about what people are gonna say. You're probably not gonna talk, like, these people's opinions of you are not gonna matter 2 years from now.
Yeah.
So why do you care about them so much today? And I think that's why my idea of success has changed so much, especially within probably the last year, of like, why am I doing this? What do I want my life to look like? It's become a lot simpler, where I think even 2 years ago I'd been like, well, I want the nice house. I want people to know I'm successful. Like, I just want to radiate success. Or now it's like, I don't want a mansion. Like, no, that's so much cleaning. I want just like a little cottage. I would like some land. But that's not like successful to me. That's just like would be nice.
You go walk around or like,
yeah. I don't
trees and
I
stuff.
don't need to ooze success. I don't need to walk around and people are like in awe that I did something. And I think that stems a lot from stepping into a place where I find something that brings me joy and happiness, and I'm at peace with it, and no longer worried, like, do you think Bobby down the street is going to be really proud of me, or is he going to think I'm weird?
Look at Shannon.
Yeah. Like, oh, but what if this fails? Or like I told you the other day, like, I just no longer care. One, there are some things I just really don't care if they're successful, if it's bringing me happiness. And because of that, I don't think there's a failure, because failing is, in my way of viewing it, is not meeting an expectation. And if my expectation is to have fun,
Or be happy.
be happy, then like,
It's, if you're doing what you want to do, it's hard to be
yeah.
that. Now, I have a question for you that I just thought of. But so your youngest sister is 16.
Mm-hmm.
What would 16-year-old Shannon think about you now? Do you think she would consider you successful?
I think so. I mean, it's funny because, like, in some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. But it's just because I had such an idea of, like, what I wanted my life to look like. So I'd been like, oh, you didn't move to, like, New York City.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm assuming just it was probably a pretty bougie vision going on.
oh, yeah.
16-year-old
But
Shannon.
I don't know, like, what 16-year-old Shannon envisioned 24-year-old Shannon to, like, look like. I don't know if she had a clue. I think she more pictured her, like, 30 to 40-year-old self and just skipped right over the 20s.
Skipping the hard part, the building of it.
Yeah, the building
Oh.
of it was just like, don't know how we get there, but just keep going. Like, so that's why I'm like, I don't know if she would think I was successful, or she'd be like, but I do think, but it's like, I don't know if she would take lessons from, like, would I be, my younger self be like, oh, I wish I could learn that lesson sooner, because, like, you have to go through something to learn a lesson, I think.
So you wouldn't change anything.
No.
It's
Like, it's, like the what ifs, like, oh, but if I just would have done this sooner, or if I would have made this decision instead of this, yeah, I could have done that. But
it would have, like, things
like
could
the butterfly
happen
effect, like,
quicker,
I don't know what's
but
gonna
yeah.
happen, like how everything else turns out after that. Like, yeah, one decision, I can come up with how I think that decision creates the best outcome, but I don't think we sometimes like to use our what ifs and be like, but what if I made that decision, and what if it's like
went terribly wrong,
or even like an average outcome. I think we just automatically are like, everything would have gone right, it just would have been the perfect life. But I just don't think that's how it turns out.
I think the comment you made, like, I didn't imagine what success looked like when I was 24. It was always almost like the finished product.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big deal for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I've seen studies of, like, college graduates and their salary expectations being astronomically,
Like, I'm gonna make
so
200K.
fairy tale-ish.
Yeah.
Just right out of school, and almost just missing that, like, dose of reality, where their idea of, like, oh, I'm graduating, I'm like 20, 22, 23, and, like, you just, like, instantly step into that idea or dream of their success.
Yeah, like, you think you're gonna have a job where you're making decisions, not one where you're
That was
bottom of the barrel.
yeah.
Like,
That was the biggest thing to me. And with, like, my major at school, I was like, oh yeah, this is great, like, you're doing all these things, and it turns out that's, like, at the end of the career, where you're the COO, not entry level. Like, you get told, like, you need to place an order, you're gonna cold call someone, and you're gonna sell 100 bunk beds or something.
Yeah.
Gosh, because, like, supply chain is just so heavily, like, transportation, so it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we need to get this product from point A to point B, and it's like this is not what I signed up for, or this
Yeah.
is not what I was promised.
Like
For
I was
sure.
gonna be the decision maker
Yeah.
here. That's why I got a degree in
I was
this.
gonna change the world with my blockchain technology,
Yeah.
and so just that like little dose of like reality and like, success goes from like doing all these like world changing things to like I submitted my report on time to my boss, and
Get those snaps.
my VLOOKUP statement
Yeah.
worked. And
So because you said you still would lean pretty heavily on like your success is pretty heavily extrinsically motivated or
yes,
based upon how you want others to view you when you're successful.
yeah.
What's a step you would take today? Or not like today, but like, in the present moments to kind of shift that a little.
I think just like us being out kind of away from like our normal group, like friends, family, just people we know out in Georgia, it is almost like it's been like a reframing of like things we want to do. So that's almost been like helpful and just like almost like resetting. But I know something that I watch you do is develop a plan. Like when I'm watching HBO Max on the iPad and I get your calendar updates for like all the stuff you want to do. But you have an organized plan and you set goals that are attainable. I know like the whole smart girls, I hated that, but like they're pretty lofty. Like this morning you were like, I want to do 50 push-ups
In a row.
consecutively in a row. And like I heard that and I was like, oh wow, that's a lot.
Currently
for
at
arms.
16.
Yeah.
Tried it yesterday. Still got a
But
long way to
I
go.
know like that's been something you've been working towards for maybe a month and a half, whatever. And then one day you were just like, yeah, I just really want to be able to do more push-ups. So
Yeah.
then like you got a whole goal, plan, everything. And, no one told you needed to do that. But I just think that's something I can do better of and they can help me. But as far as like other ways, just pursuing something that you don't even like, no one's telling you to do this. I know I've spent a lot of time the last month learning to code in Python. And just because I think it's fun and interesting, not so much that like I expect to change the world.
Yeah.
Now, when we move to a state that has like legal sports betting and all my data science
Oh, my Lanta.
betting models are just killing it, I might be changing the world. But for now, we're watching a lot of Google YouTube videos.
Sir, you're something else. You go change the world with your sports
Okay.
gambling.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything additional you would like to add?
I think you asked me kind of what my success looked like. But I don't know if you've fully defined like what you kind of look at it now.
I would say,
In like a sentence, I guess. We have been talking about it for a while, but
yeah, I kind of hit on it before, but that success to me now is joy and peace. If I could sum it up in just really basic terms, that if I'm not dreading getting up in the morning, that's a plus. If I know a decision is right for me and there's a bunch of peace around that, I know that's right, that's successful. I don't think a dollar value or this thing, and I would say I'm still working on that because I still struggle with like the wants, I guess, like the material view, and like what's the line of like, is it for other people, is it for me, like what, like the why on some things I'm still working through. But I think long term I just want to be like at peace and live a life that just like I'm proud of, that I'm like, I worked hard, yes, and I didn't do it for, we're going to use Bobby down the street again, but I did it for me. And because I wanted to, and I didn't let other people's perception or approval stop me from doing the things that I want to do. So I think that's what success is to me.
I like the way you worded that.
Thanks. Means a lot.
That's kind of all I got. I mean, I'd love to get some interaction on some YouTube comments.
Yeah.
So if you have something that you're proud of just for you, just drop that in the comments. Just like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
See y'all later.